Another element of a BeMS system is a head-end supervisor. Head-end supervisors are PC-based systems. They perform a number of functions. We have a graphical representation of the plant. We can acquire data. We can trend data. We have alarm handling built in, and generally it's where we put the system security in as well. Now, it's not always necessary to have a head-end supervisor on your systems, and we don't always do that on smaller systems. It can sometimes be prohibitively expensive, but it does give you a very simple, I say simple, it's a very good way of providing a user interface. It makes it a lot more user-friendly if you have a supervisor on your system. It connects into the network in the same way as any other device and needs to be engineered to gather information. So what do we do with a head end? Well, the classic use of a head end is to provide graphical representation for your plant. This is an air handling unit with some dampers and fans. It's got a couple of coils and a filter on there. And what we've done is we've overlaid actual real world values for those elements of this air handling unit. If you didn't have this graphical representation, you would be looking down a list of AHU1 dampers, AHU filter, AHU coil, and trying to look for the values, and that can take a lot of time. So by engineering a graphic on our head end, we can see these values in a simple fashion, which represents, or hopefully represents, if it's been drawn properly, what is out in the field and the actual graphical representation of how our plant looks. We can also provide trend data with our head-end supervisor. We can look at trend data. Controllers tend to log some data within the controller itself, but you still need a means to look at that. So you could draw it out. Yes, you could bring it all out as a big long list of numbers and bring it into Excel, but more commonly we would do that at the head end. Something else we could do at the head end: controllers have limited storage capacity. If we have a head end, we can drag the data out. We can trend our data over a much longer period of time. Calendars, setting up our time schedules as well. If you have a very large system, it's unlikely that you will have everything comes on at 8, everything goes off at 6. So we need to manage multiple time schedules and exception dates within our system. And by having a head-end supervisor, we can actually manage those calendars and those complex time schedules more easily, because we get a graphical representation of different parts of the building, and usually with some real world text to explain exactly what is going to be affected by changing a particular time schedule. So it's a very important function of a head end. And the last thing that we do, or say the last thing, or the last common function that I'm going to talk about with a head end, is the alarm functionality. I've already described what an alarm is. Doesn't necessarily mean it's something you need to run screaming to. It means that there is an event which has happened, an exception event. I gave the example earlier of a set point of 22 degrees C, the temperature's gone up to 24. We would raise a plant alarm. Maybe a valve is stuck or something that needs to be looked at, but we need a way to receive that. And with the head end, we can get an alert which will come up on the screen, but that alert can also be logged into a database. So if we're getting a lot of alarms of a similar nature, we can actually look at that data and see what's happening, the frequency of those events, and we can use that to formulate a strategy for providing better maintenance for a plant. Or we could even use that alarm information to automatically alert us. If you get 5 alarms of this nature, we need to do this, or you need to call this person. So I've given some typical examples there: plant failure, high or low temperatures. And another one that we often use is high energy consumption. If something is consuming enormous amounts of energy, then we want to know why. It might not be a fault. It might just be really cold all the time, and so that's why it's doing it. But you want to be able to be alerted to that, and we can do that using plant alarms.